Before I get into the first review, I want to talk a little bit about kind of the culture of Letterboxd reviews. I feel like you have a multitude of different types of people when it comes to Letterboxd review, and I haven't really stuck to a lane yet. But you have your person who gives a very earnest, honest review of the movie, multi-paragraphs and multi-sectional review. You have your one-liners, people who just say something witty, catchy, maybe a quote from the movie. Not to get that in-depth of an analysis, but just to give like a hot button take or a hot button thought about the movie. A lot of times those are very catchy, and if I'm debating on seeing a movie, if I haven't heard a lot about the movie, sometimes I'll open up the movie's Letterboxd and just review or read some of the spoiler-free reviews because they mark which reviews have spoilers, and just see what clever things people are saying about the movie and help dictate whether or not I want to see it. So yeah, for my Mission Impossible review, it's a little combination of your standard straightforward review. You need to know the reference to get the full art of the review. Open shot, fate of the universe on the line, where the Martians have the death beam pointed at Earth and you better hit it. I want Ethan Hunt.
I want Iguodala.
The movie itself is a bumpy ride with a ton of exposition dumping, even grading it on a Mission Impossible scale, but the movie nails what we come to these movies for. Some breathtaking action set pieces and some miraculous pull-throughs. Has a lot of Andor energy too. I just wish they trusted the audience more to connect the dots. For those of y'all out there who haven't seen Star Wars, haven't seen Andor, Andor just a fantastic TV series, even if you're not a Star Wars fan. I think a lot of the themes for season 2 hit home a lot today. Today in a macro and a micro sense, just with all the political activism going on in the media. Definitely check out Andor. Highly recommend it, especially if y'all like Star Wars, especially if you've seen Rogue One. But back to Mission Impossible, to talk a little bit more about the movie without spoiling it. Last episode, Sinners Part 2, I talked a little bit about exposition dumping. When a piece of media, they just tell you a bunch of background knowledge, a bunch of facts that you need to know in order for the movie or the piece of media to work. When done well, sometimes it's hidden and not noticeable by audiences. In Mission Impossible's case, I feel like it was very heavy-handed to the point where before some of the more actiony parts of the movie, I was very disappointed with Mission Impossible. Like, I just wasn't having a good time. And going to the part of my review where I talked about wanting them to trust the audience more, when it comes to movies that have several sequels, your Fast and Furious movies, your Mission Impossibles, even the MCU to a slightly different extent, at some point, I don't want you to care about somebody who's watching the 9th movie as their first entry into the franchise. Granted, there are some movies where they do catch up people who haven't seen any other installment in the franchise pretty well. This one was not an example of that. I think they spent way too much time in the first hour, 90 minutes of the movie telling you what happened in the previous 8 movies, and I'm like, I seen them. And for your diehard fans, they probably binge watched a lot of them before coming to this movie. So to spend so much time in a not entertaining way telling me what happened in the other movies, you lost me, boss. If you're gonna lose me in the first half, though, you better nail the second half. And Mission Impossible Final Reckoning, they nailed the second half. I think they nail it to varying degrees depending on the audience, but being in that movie theater, full crowd, opening night, watching it in IMAX, there was a certain energy at the movies that has been lost a lot over recent years, especially post-pandemic or post the start of the pandemic. When I went to the movies to see Mission Impossible, it was packed. And this is not just a random theater, of course. It's the Montclair Place Theater in Montclair, California. But I've seen quite a few movies there since living in the IE, and I haven't seen it that packed. But so many people were out because I went on, I said May 22nd was when I wrote the review. So yeah, it was a Thursday night when I was watching Mission Impossible, and the theater was filled. But also people were there to see Lilo and Stitch. People were out at the movies. And recently someone asked if people still go to the movies that much. I was like, yeah, I think they do. I think that the media talks a lot about the decline of movies, but especially at least in Southern California, there's a lot of people who want to go to the movies. A, it's just expensive as hell. And B, they just want to be entertained. And when you have a property like Lilo and Stitch, which A lot of millennials, a lot of older Gen Z folks, younger millennials, they grew up on this movie. They love this movie. They want to see it. They might want to put their kids onto this movie. And then you have Mission Impossible, a very successful action franchise, having an installment that feels like the culmination of something. The way they advertise Mission Impossible is very similar to how they advertise Avengers Endgame, really selling you on how much of a story you've been on with these characters. And people wanted to see it, and people had a good time with it. Or at least I should say, people in my audience seem to have a good time with it. I had a good time with the movie. Like I said, what you come to a Mission Impossible movie for, they nail it. They nail the stunts, they nail the set pieces. I think it really comes down to how much you buy Ethan Hunt as a character, how much you buy the concept of Ethan Hunt. It's called Mission Impossible for a reason. If you think Ethan Hunt can do the impossible, I think you'll like the movie.